Nutshell Animations. You may have seen him on YouTube Shorts if you are 5 years old. He puts out a lot of different animations on YouTube Shorts where he narrates a TikTok audio and just does a meme thing. I don't know, whatever you want to call whatever this is.
Stop! Good God, man! You almost got the cheese touch. What?
Who is watching this? But right now, he's facing major allegations of underpaying his contractors.
He pays $50 per video, and I can provide concrete proof,
as well as a variety of other claims. And so today we're going to go through them to see which ones are valid, which ones are invalid, and if the controversy is overblown, or if Nutshell Animations deserves every cent of criticism that he's getting. Enjoy. There's some animation drama I wanted to look at with this guy named Nutshell Animations. I don't know a lot about this guy, but I know there's some drama going on with him. They call him the most corrupt channel on YouTube. The most corrupt channel on YouTube. So this guy, Nutshell Animations, is in some major shit. He's got 10 million subscribers, doing very well for himself. His YouTube videos don't get a ridiculous amount of views, but his shorts do. His shorts do get mad views. I mean, this one has 46 million. Seems we found Indian YouTube. So we've got a video that's his response that's an hour and 10 minutes long, but then we've got the original video that's like exposing him supposedly, okay, by Beto999. And this video has 900,000 views just about. And I think I've seen this guy's channel before. I think we've watched one of his videos at some point, but he made an absolutely massive video going over something that he's done. We're going to essentially find out what's going on here.
how's it going? I'm gonna be real. This video is, well, it's a little different from my typical post. Instead of me just watching some videos and adding absolutely nothing to the topic like I usually do, today I've actually got a topic that is for the most part serious and like an actual genuine issue that I have with the channel. An issue that is largely swept under the rug, just like kicked under the fridge.
Is this Marvel Rivals? Who is this? Never mind. I don't want to comment about any kind of thing. I don't want to comment about any kind of thing going on here on the screen, but you know, Marvel Rivals, it looks like not a bad game, to be honest. I mean, you know, it looks all right. I could see the appeal, certainly. You know, the gameplay looks very good. The gameplay looks really entertaining. That's all I'm saying, you know. Good personality, stuff like that. Sort of a bouncing on it situation.
Pretty much nobody is talking about this. And do I feel like I'm qualified to do it? No.
That's Sue Storm from Fantastic Four? That's who that is, right? Whoa. They got to stop with this shit. They got to stop doing this to me. Like I'm trying not to be engaging with this kind of thing, you know, the stop gooning thing, but then they throw the shit in my face. They throw this cartoon ass in my face. And for once, it's not some anime freak shit, you know? Anyhow, imagine Invisible Woman walks up to you and starts throwing it back, but you can't see her because she's fucking invisible, so you're just having a schizo wank. That sounds pretty good. Is it gooning if you can't see her? I feel like it's not. You should look up Sue Storm skins real quick. I can't. I need to get out of there. I can't. No.
No, not at all. But this information just kind of fell into my lap, and I would honestly feel bad if I didn't say at least something about it. If you've watched my videos pretty much at all in the past year, then chances are you've seen or at least heard of Nutshell Animations. Pretty much it's a channel that just takes literally every trending audio to ever exist and then animates their little group of characters acting out said audio. It's a harmless channel, or so I thought, but I found their content to just be cringe as fuck. So I made a video, literally just reacting to their shorts. That's it. I was just making stupid jokes. You know, the Beto classic. And when I originally dropped that video, it was received really well. Matter of fact, that video is still to this day one of my best performing videos ever. And when it came to the general consensus, you know, people were agreeing with me, with most of the comments just talking about how cringe he was. But there was a few comments that were just kind of like weirdly incriminating. They weren't like saying anything like that's legally bad, but it was definitely enough to raise a bit of a red flag. Things like, fun fact, they literally pay animators to animate for them. These animations aren't theirs. Which in and of itself isn't really a big deal. Like, sure, it's kind of scummy to, you know, steal an audio and then on top of that, do none of the work and have other people do it for you. I agree, it's scummy. But what really kind of...
It's not really scummy, though. I mean, if people are getting paid for it, they're getting paid for it, right? Like, so many people on TikTok, you know, do the meme where they take someone's audio, that's like a trending audio, and they, like, do a little, you know, a little dance over it. You know, the girls do their little jig or whatever, lip syncing, like, you wouldn't say that's scummy. Like, it's not like it's a TikTok audio. It's not like they're stealing the peak of content. You know what I mean? It's not like they're stealing the most amazing thing ever. They're probably stealing some Vine where someone says, "Oh my God," and then they like pay someone to animate it. Like, it's what, like, who cares? Who cares? It's not scummy at all. It's not original content. It's not like good content, but it's not scummy. I would disagree with that. Show both your hands. Innocent. I'm innocent as charged. What's up, Espy?
Kind of shocked me and again raised the red flag wasn't necessarily that he was paying for animations, but more for the fact that I did not see any kind of credits given to said animators. Ever. Not once.
Well, I mean, the question for me is like, did the animators ask for credit? Like, if part of the agreement beforehand is I want credit and I want to be paid and they don't credit them, that's shitty. But if part of the agreement is like, hey man, I want to do an animation, I'm not going to credit you, but I'll pay you for it, and the person agrees to it, then that's like, you know, that's a consensual interaction. Both people agree to that business interaction. Like, there's no real problem with that necessarily.
And you'll see that throughout this video, it becomes a bit of a trend. But either way, again, those comments weren't terrible, so for the most part, I just kind of brushed it off. But then the comments started slowly getting a lot worse. From an animator's perspective, the animation is impressive. Seems like it takes a couple days of video. I actually know a guy that worked for him, and his main complaint was that they never got any credit. There's about 20 animators working for his channel, and he doesn't know any of them. For his sake, I don't want to reveal his name, but he overall says the experience working for him is fine. But it's so unfair the artist never got any recognition. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, the real question for me is just, did the artist request recognition and the guy like refused it? Or was there never any question about recognition? Like, if the artist comes to you and they're like, hey, I want to do some work for you, I don't care about credit, you can just pay me. And the guy says, yeah, they then do the animation, Nutshell Animations post it. And then after the fact, the animator's like, actually, I want credit. Like, you know, you could argue like maybe the guy, it would be nice of him to credit them after the fact if that's what they're requesting. But if beforehand they agreed that they didn't want to be credited and then afterwards they changed their mind, like, you can't necessarily criticize Nutshell Animations in that situation. If Nutshell Animations lies from the jump and he's like, hey, I'm going to credit you, and then he doesn't credit them, then that's obviously shitty, right? That's the main question.
Now, about the time that I received this comment, as well as the hundreds before them calling Nutshell out for the same shit, that was about the time that my general outlook on Nutshell changed. He was no longer just a cringy animator, and more just like clearly not a great person. Which seemed very weird to me, because amongst the comments calling him out for, well, just not crediting his workers, I also saw a weird mix of people saying that he's a great person, and about how when they were younger and just starting out in animations, Nutshell would actually comment on their work and say how good they were. So I was kind of...
The problem so far is this guy hasn't shown any proof of his claim that the animation wasn't credited. Like, it's just a few random commenters. You know, you can't just trust some random guy in the comment section. You can't just trust some random fucker in the comment section that says something. Like, there needs to be some kind of proof, like a DM interaction. Like, if there's a DM interaction where it was like, and maybe that will be in this video, where it was like, oh my God, here's what happened with Nutshell Animations, and it's like Nutshell being like, hey, I'll pay you $150 for this animation, which is low, but whatever. I'll pay $150 for this animation plus credit. The guy says, okay, gets it done, sends us a Nutshell, Nutshell posts it, pays him, but doesn't credit him. Then that would be like, okay, definitive proof. But a few commenters saying things is just not enough, you know what I mean?
Kind of in this weird spot where I was receiving opposite information from like half the fan base.
Like, some people just don't want credit. I've had a lot of editors who have worked for me, and they want to, you know, get the work and they want to get paid for it, but they don't want credit because they don't want to be a public figure. They don't want to be publicly known. Sometimes they will ask, like, hey, can you refer to me to this other YouTuber or this other person behind the scenes for some editing work? And I'll be like, yeah, of course. But, you know, publicly, they don't want to be known as like a social media person because they know that, you know, sometimes when you're getting involved in drama, you know, people might try to rope them into my shit. I remember at one point when I had someone edit one of my videos and I got into drama, some guy made a YouTube video where he was like, and by the way, all these other people in the description that he linked need to be called out. And it was like, he's just the editor. Like, he's just a video editor. He didn't do anything. He just wanted to get paid for his work. He's not involved in this, really. But people will do that. So, like, sometimes you don't want to be credited publicly, you know?
And obviously I'll go into more detail on this later, but I eventually figured out that he was really only commenting because...
In a legal sense, recognition does not imply when you're hired. Typically, in an employment contract, you agree that all work done during your employment isn't legally yours. Yeah, that's true. But regardless, it's, you know, it's nice. It is a nice thing to do, to be like, you know, if they ask for credit and you agree to it beforehand, you should honor that. You should honor your word.
Because they were well, young, aspiring animators that he could manipulate into doing his job for him. But at the time, I didn't know any of
Manipulate. Hold on.
that he could manipulate into doing his job. Well, young, aspiring animators that he could manipulate into doing his job for him.
I get this is the first 4 minutes, but one annoying thing I find with YouTube videos is like giving the conclusion before you've shown any of the evidence for it. Like a very strong conclusion. Like we're 4 minutes into this video, a lot of very strong conclusions have been reached, and we haven't seen a single piece of evidence yet. It's a little bit frustrating, personally, a little bit peeving, a little bit annoying to me.
But at the time, I didn't know any of this, so I decided to do the most noble thing I could do, which is to just forget about it entirely. I mean, like, dude, to be honest, that shit way above my league. I'm not the type of dude to call somebody out for, like actual bad business practice. And to be honest, I'm doing it now, and it's still above my league. But whatever, I think I'm doing all right. Anyways, like I said, I just decided to forget about it, and I did for about 3 months. That is until I stumbled upon yet another comment on this 3-month-old video of another person calling out Nutshell. And this one, though not much worse than the other comments, brought up an entirely new point that in conjunction with all the other comments really started to make shit line up, exposing this shitty company. I worked for these dudes. They pay their animators $50 to make a fully animated TikTok with the worst sounds I've ever heard and give zero credit. It may sound like that's a lot, but trust me, it's horrible pay compared to how many hours go into animating each animation and how much they get for them. Their monthly pay is around $234K. Bros are greedy. I'm pretty sure they're not even doing it legally.
So $50 is not a lot of money to pay an animator, to be clear. That is pretty low. Animation takes a long time. Even for a relatively short TikTok, $50 is pretty low. But the question is, did the animator agree to that ahead of time? How old are the people he's hiring? Is he contracting this to like overseas Indian labor at child animation factories? Like what's going on here? You know what I mean? Like, this is just a comment. Doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Now, obviously, the whole monthly pay / they're not doing it legally thing, that's all just hearsay type shit. Like, there's no real backbone to that. And I guess technically them paying $50 per animation doesn't really have a backbone either. Like,
True.
There's no real proof there. He's just saying it. But that piece of information, plus all of the other shit I've already heard about Nutshell, just kind of seemed to fit in. Now, obviously, it didn't sound 100% true, but like maybe 50%. Either way, it led me to at least looking into Nutshell after 3 months of just forgetting about him. Now, in my initial search, I didn't actually find anything that led me to believe he was underpaying or whatever. But then again, I didn't really look. Like, I'll just be completely real. I wasn't actually searching. I was really just looking at his new videos. And I realized that he had gotten worse. His videos were significantly more cringe. So I decided to make yet another video where I just say nothing important and laugh. But
I mean, the videos are pretty, it sounds like he's kind of building the grounds for getting into some kind of investigation here. The videos are pretty, I mean, they're pretty fucking cringe. They're pretty cringe, dude. Like, I don't know who's watching this.
Stop! Good God, man! You almost got the cheese touch. The what?
Who is watching this? Who is watching a video of some little odd ones out stick figure touching a girl's butt? Who is this made for? Children is the answer, I assume. I always assume children.
Sorry, first time being kidnapped, kinda nervous. So, like, why did you pick me? Do you think I'm cute? I'm gonna kill you. Okay, daddy vibes, we love a bad boy king, and I wanna die.
There's something wrong with your generation. Freeze! Police! You're safe now, ma'am.
Okay, ew, police, it's not that deep, chill. And did you just assume my gender? Because that's offensive.
But I'm here to say-
That's offensive.
But you were-
That's offensive. Sorry.
This is absolute cancer. I hate this. I hate whatever this is. Whoever made the audio needs to go. They need to be in a camp.
But this time, nearer to the end of the video, I decided to include
Actually.
that comment that I just showed. And obviously, I said that it was all allegations and that I didn't 100% believe it. But that, mixed with the fact that he doesn't even animate his own videos and the fact that he doesn't make his own jokes, just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So I felt like including that made sense.
It's like he doesn't make his own videos. He doesn't make his own jokes. While we're watching a video from a guy who uses Marvel Rivals gameplay for the entire video, and he himself admits that he just watches other people's content and says almost nothing about it. Like, the guy who uses Marvel Rivals gameplay as the B-roll for his entire video is like it's scummy that he pays other people for his animations. You know what I mean? Like so far, this is so nothing. I mean, if there's proof that he like didn't credit people when he should have, that's very bad and that should be called out. But like, you know, why even include that comment if you don't have proof for it? You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's just an allegation. It's okay. But like, if you're including that and you're kind of like, you know, if he was like, to be clear, this is just a comment. I have no idea if this is true. I have literally no idea. This is just something someone said. Anyway, if you have more info, let me know. That'll be one thing. But it seems like here he's kind of like, at least with this video, he's very much like, you know, it might be 50% true. We don't know technically, but it looks like it might be true and the dots are connecting. And it's like, we don't have any proof for that. Why even say that? He's kind of implying, you know, that it is the case.
And I definitely didn't think that anything would come from it. I kind of just threw it in there as like a, you know, whatever. Literally the entire video is kind of a shit post. I did the stereotypical devil horns on a guy that I found cringe. Again, definitely a shit post. But fast forward literally 2 days, and the shit post became, well, a lot more than just a shit post. Basically what happened is that I was contacted by 3 different people, all claiming to be animators for Nutshell, and outright saying that these are not allegations, and he does in fact pay $50 measly ass dollars for them to do his job. Which let me just say right now, because I already know that you're prepping your nothing burger comments and you're saying, oh,
True.
You know, that's plenty of pay. No, it's not.
I'm not saying it's plenty of pay, but if they agreed to that amount up front, like, I don't really care. Like, if the person in question was like, hey, I'll animate for $50, and Nutshell was like, okay, and he paid them, like, that's, in the free market, that is an interaction where both people consented. If they agreed to $500 and then he paid them $50, then he scammed them, and that's something to criticize. But if they agree ahead of time, like, if you don't want to do the work, just say no. Just say no. Why agree to doing that, like, animation work for $50 if you feel like you could be paid better elsewhere to do it?
No, the fuck it is not. I know literally nothing about animation. Never done it in my life, and I still know that $50, especially coming from a channel this large, is nothing. And trust me, later on, I go into very extensive detail about why that pay is horrible. But anyways, after proving that they were, in fact, all animators for Nutshell, I, of course, decided to press them for any information surrounding all of the comments I had gotten, and they were more than willing to share, under the stipulation that I just keep them anonymous, which, of course, I will do. So from now on...
I mean, my question would be, where's... How do I know the animator for Nutshell? You know what I mean? Like, how can I just believe you right off the bat? I'm not saying you're necessarily lying. You could be telling the truth, but I don't know that they're animators for Nutshell. I have no idea who they are. There must be some way you can prove they're animators for Nutshell while also concealing their identity, right? There must be some way.
They will go by Animator 1, Animator 2, and Animator 3. And later on, when we get into the messages, Animator 1 is going to be green, Animator 2 is red, and Animator 3 is blue. So the conversation started like this. Hey man, saw your Nutshell video you posted the other day with a few friends and wanted to reach out and let you know that it is not alleged. He pays $50 per video and I can provide concrete proof along with screenshots of the conversations we've had too. If you're going to use this in a video, please keep me anonymous. Now this is just one message from one of the animators, but the other 2 basically said the exact same thing, so I'm just not going to include them. Either way.
Why not include them at the very, like, why not at least include them for posterity's sake to show that there were multiple people saying that? Why does that guy have a hand coming out of his butt on screen? Anyway, like, other guys said the same thing. I have more proof, not going to show it though. Like, that's not the way to do a video like this. You should at least be showing that those people exist and said that. Like, come on. They said the same thing, so I'm not even going to provide the proof. Like, just provide it. Just provide it. And to also, like, these people are, like, exposing Nutshell Animations for paying them an amount of money that they agreed to be paid. You know what I mean? It's like, you agreed to that. You literally agreed to that. What is the problem?
After this message, obviously I asked them to prove that they worked for Nutshell. And while I can't show any of what they sent me because it would just blatantly out them, I am 100% sure that they work for him. And by the end of the video, you guys will be too. They basically sent me videos that they had made for him in the past, as well as progress pictures, like outlines, you know, project timelines, all of that. So at this point, I was 100% convinced. And Animator 1, being the person that seemed to have the most information, is the one that I talked to the most. So after proving that he worked for Nutshell, I asked, wait, so on average, how long would you say it takes to make one of his videos? He said it varies because of the length of the videos, but for me it takes at least 1 or 2 days each. I said, wait, so how many hours do you put on them per day? Also, just real quick, gotta say, don't mind the profile picture. I just, you know what, I don't even have to explain myself. This shit's hard as f***. Anyways, he said that he works about 4 hours per day. So it takes him around 8 hours per animation and he gets paid $50. which again, I'll break down the pay for all of the animators later, but that is like $6.50 an hour, which is ass. Complete.
But before I go any further, today's video is sponsored by GamerSupps, the best energy drink in the freaking game. They've got a lot of really good flavors, it tastes great, it's way more affordable than other energy drinks or soda, and they also pay me, which is good because it's me. So be sure to use code TOM to get 10% off at gamersupps.gg. Just click the link down in that video description to tap in with the greatest chug juice ever. All right, now back to the video. Well, yeah, but like they agreed to it up front, right? They agreed to that amount of money. They agreed to get paid that much. So who fucking cares, right? Who cares? Like these people aren't his employees where he's beholden to labor laws where he has to pay them at least minimum wage to get work done. They're contractors. He's paying them for work. They agreed to that much money being paid for their work in the first place and then did it. And now they're mad after the fact that they got underpaid for work that they in the first place agreed to do under no pretense that they had to do it or would be paid more. Like, come on. Looks like everyone wants to be the next dog pack. I mean, maybe there's more in this video. We're only 9 minutes in, but so far this is not like a very like Nutshell Animations pays people what he agreed to pay them and they get mad after. I don't fucking care. I don't fucking care. Like, well, maybe work for someone who will pay you more. Good morning, Tom. Remember Never Goon. Thank you for the dono.
Ass. Honestly, I think that I explained it perfectly when I was talking to him. I said, so basically what you're telling me is that if you're a skilled animator, you're better off flipping patties than working for Nutshell. Which is 100% true. If you are good at animating and spend time perfecting your craft, you literally will be underpaid by Nutshell. So if you're thinking about working for him, I would strongly suggest that you don't. Anyway.
But like, then just don't. Like, that is a solution. Like, if you don't want to be underpaid for work that you agree to be underpaid for, then don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, why didn't you pay me more after you agreed to pay me the exact amount of money that I got paid? Like, yeah, animators don't get paid a lot of money. That's unfortunately the way it works. It takes a lot of time to get something done. You don't get paid very well for it. That's an unfortunate reality we live in. I don't expect Nutshell Animations to conquer the entire animation industry and fix this issue single-handedly. All I expect him to do is run his business in the best way that he sees fit. I don't particularly care that he's paying people what he agreed to pay them.
Anyways, later on, Animator 3 ended up backing up Animator 1's claim about how he spends 8 hours. Not that I didn't believe him, because his videos definitely look like he spends quite a bit of time on them. But basically Animator 3 said, I know Animator 1 takes like 4 to 8 hours, but our other homie, Animator 2, shits these videos out the fastest. 1 hour each because he has like presets for the mouth movements and stuff. He played it smart. Us, on the other hand, we like to do frame by frame, which basically means like we make original drawings for each frame rather than focusing on copy-pasting stuff.
Well, it sounds like your friend got it figured out because he can do them in 1 hour. He has presets and he makes a bunch of money from it. And you, instead of doing what he did, decided to do like one of the hardest art forms to do consistently that takes a lot of time, and decided to, instead of doing what he did, do it in the most time consuming way so you get paid less for the work that you're doing. So that's your fault. Like, why work for him? Work for someone else.
And holy bro, actually not worth it. I just recently started animating for Nutshell last month, and I'm just going to do it the way Animator 2 does it. I was a bit too passionate with my first work. And that's when I brought up the point of, as sleazy as it is, your best bet is to make shitty animations that take like an hour max, because 8 hours for $50 is just robbery. That's like $6 an hour, which is true. Listen, the system that Nutshell has set up for his animators literally rewards people for being lazy. If he pays
So then be lazy. If he's willing to take your work when you do less, why work harder? If he's willing to take your work when you do less and it makes him just as much money and he's happy paying you the same amount of money for working less, why not just do that? They all agreed to this. I don't really get it. People tend to agree to a price and then realize what money's actually being made, get annoyed or upset because they didn't ask for enough. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like Nutshell Animations is running a business. He's trying to get his costs down while making as much money as possible. Okay, he's offering to pay people for work that they're agreeing to do, and then they get upset after the fact. It's like, well, Nutshell Animations is just trying to get he's trying to get his nut. He's trying to get his bag in the best way he knows how. So are all of these people. These people wouldn't be paid at all by him in the first place if he wasn't running his business. They can go work for someone else if they want to. Have these guys never heard of bartering? Ask for better pay. Just quit if that doesn't work. Thanks for the content, Tom. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, just go work for someone else. Go do something else.
flat rate of $50 every time, and you're doing that shit in an hour? Honestly, that's good pay. 50 an hour is not bad. But that doesn't change the fact that that's just not a good way to run a business. And it's
Yes, it is. Yes, it actually is. That is how you're supposed to run a business. That is literally the way to run a business. Maximize profits while getting costs as low as possible. That is the way to run a business. That is the best way to run a business. That is how you make money. The point of a business, unless you're doing some kind of charity, is to make money doing it, right? Is to make a profit. That is what a business is like. That is the goal. That is the goal of running a business. Is the guy making this video like 9 years old? I don't understand. It's like, so it turns out this business owner, in the interest of making as much money as possible, actually offered to pay people an amount of money. They then agreed to that. And it turns out he makes more than they do in the end when he posts a video.
it's also not the way that most people run their business when it comes to animations. Look right here, Animator 3 says,
yes, it is. Animators are notoriously underpaid. They are notoriously underpaid. That is just not the case. And it's a shitty reality, but that is the reality we live in, you know? Animation is a very time-consuming thing, and oftentimes it doesn't really make that much money, especially like 2D frame-by-frame animation. Oftentimes it doesn't make that much money, which is why a lot of animation studios converted to like the CalArt style, making things look very simple so that it's easier to animate. That's why a lot of them started doing like flash animation, like, you know, Johnny Test, so you can reuse assets. So why a lot of them do tweening to kind of, you know, cheat code it a little bit to make it look animated. And it is animated, but it's not, you know, it's not like the Iron Giant or something, right? But it's like you're trying to save money while also still animating and turning a profit, right? Like, I'm not a communist. I'm a capitalist. We exist in a capitalist society. I expect the business owners will try to make as much money as possible.
also he pays $50 per video, but if it's over 30 seconds, he pays $100, which is actually so f***ing shit. It's such a shitty way to pay. Most companies or commissions pay by the amount of seconds you animate or per hour you work. This motherfucker pays per video as a whole. That's so unfair.
Well, then work for someone else. If that's the payment structure that he set up and you agree to the payment structure that he set up, like, you can be kind of mad after the fact, but you should be mad at yourself for not demanding a better payment structure or not working for someone else. I don't know, form a union or something where you can barter with this guy, go on strike with all the animators. Probably won't work. He'll just find other people who are willing to be paid less. But like, what do you really expect to happen here? I can't see that Nutshell Animations has anything wrong yet other than run his business the best way that he saw fit.
Which I agree. That is unfair. If the way that he was paying was like industry standard, I would totally understand it. But it's just not. And for good reason, too. There is a clear separation between the animators and between skill level, right? The one that is more skilled, that is delivering a better product, should be paid more. You should be paying for their time because...
Well, then ask for more money. You can't just expect that everyone is going to just pay you more because you do better work. If you agree to an amount up front, you agree to a certain amount of money to be paid, you are going to get paid that. Like, what the fuck is the problem here? What the fuck is the problem? As someone who's done contract work, you have to value your time plus work. Seems like neither was done here. Yeah, like, these people don't value themselves and then they get mad after the fact. I feel bad for the animators having to animate such weird and cringy stuff. They're getting paid $50 to make content farms. It's actually wild. Why did they agree to that? Why did they agree to that? What, like... Fun fact, $6.50 an hour is below minimum wage. Minimum wage is required by law to be at least $7.25 an hour. Yeah, but they're not employees. It's contract labor. They're not required to be paid minimum wage.
Because they are just objectively worth more than someone that isn't putting any effort into it. But in the case of Nutshell Animations, that is just not what happens. And to really prove it, just...
Yeah, well, Nutshell Animations probably doesn't get paid more depending on how much better the animation is. Because the point is not the animation is good. The point is that they're animating some memorable TikTok audio and it's a meme that ends up on YouTube Shorts that people look at for 1 second, right? Like, once again, these people's egos are through the fucking roof. Yeah, you're making animations for a content farm. That is how good your animation is. That is the peak that you have reached at this point, okay? If you want to do better, go try to work in an animation studio. Go try to market your work around. Don't work for this fucking guy.
to really push this point to you, I asked Animator 1 to send me a screenshot of every video he has ever made for Nutshell, as well as the amount of views each video got. And I also asked Animator 2 to do the same as well. Animator 3 is like brand new to the whole Nutshell thing, so I just didn't think his numbers would matter. Anyways, after counting each video and adding up all the views, I found that Animator 1 has made 23 videos, and just keep in mind that these are the ones that Nutshell has posted. They had brought up to me that there was times where, he would compliment one of their animations but just not post it. So, clearly this isn't going to be the most accurate thing ever. Just because he has 23 videos up, that doesn't mean that's all he's made. I'm sure there's been plenty that haven't been posted, but just from what we have, he's made 23 videos with a combined total of 84,108,000 views, which I then took that number and multiplied it by the amount that YouTube normally pays for shorts, which is around 15 cents per 1,000 views. And obviously, this isn't going to be an exact representation of just how much money he made from these, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you just understand the scale. You understand just how much these animators are getting And in this case, I found that Nutshell made $12,166 just off of Animator 1. And going off of the 23 videos he made, that means he was paid about $1,200, which doesn't seem terrible, but then you gotta factor in the fact that he spends 8 hours per video. That is $6.50 per hour of work.
Then why did you agree to be paid that much in the first place? That's a pretty good profit margin, but like, why did he agree to be paid that much in the first place? Like, go somewhere else. Go work for someone else. Be an advocate. Did you request at any point in time to be paid more? And to be clear, if you request more and Nutshell Animation says no, he has a right to not work with you in the future and work with someone who will be accepting less pay. Like, this is how the world works. He made a pretty good bag off that. Like, you could just stop working for him. You don't have to work for him. You'll be paid more doing less intensive work, unironically, somewhere else. So just don't work for Nutshell Animations. Just don't work for him. Missing person, sadly. Thanks for becoming a member. Appreciate it. Does it really take him 8 hours per short? I mean, it could. Animation is pretty tough to do. There's, enough frames that it could take 8 hours. You got to draw all of them, right? And, put it all together and, make it line up with the sound effects. Like, it can take a lot of time. But, like, if you agree to that amount, like, that sucks for you. But you agree to that amount of money up front. Like, what? I don't really care.
Whereas Animator 2 has made 59 videos with 166,564,000 views and has generated $25,000. With the 59 videos he's made, he's been paid close to $3,000. It's about $2,950. But the big difference between Animator 1 and Animator 2, other than the fact that Animator 2 has made more videos, is the fact that Animator 2 spends like an hour and a half per video.
Like, one smart thing to do here would be, instead of working for Nutshell Animations, just start your own channel where you do animated shorts, where you use TikTok audios to do it, and then animate it yourself and post it and make money from it on your own. Like, just like, seize the means of production. Do it yourself. Why do you have to work for this guy? You don't have to. You're not being forced at gunpoint to do this.
Which, if you do the math on that, you see that he's making $34 per hour. $34 per hour. It is night and day. Animator 1, $6 an hour. Animator 2, $34. Even though if you average the views per video, Animator 1 gets more views. He gets around 3.6 million views per video, whereas Animator 2 gets 2.8. So why is it that he's making 5 times more money than Animator 1 is? Again, dude, $6.50 per hour, $34 per hour. It makes no sense. And the thing is, the reason that Animator 1 averages more views isn't a secret. It makes sense. The quality is, again, night and day. His videos look great, whereas Animator 2's not so great. Which obviously isn't a diss. He's doing it on purpose and playing it smart. But still, at the end of the day, that just goes to show just how stupid Nutshell's payment terms are. If I'm able to...
But, like, you agreed to the payment terms. Like, it's your fault. If you agreed to these payment terms, you agreed to be paid a certain amount of money for the work that you did. You got paid that amount. You can't really be mad after the fact. I don't live in some communist delusion where people should be paid more than they're offered in the first place, right? Like, would it be nice for them to be paid more? Yeah. Would I pay more for an animation? Yeah, probably. But I'm also not under the delusion that I would make money from that. Animation content on YouTube generally doesn't make money. Nutshell Animation seemed to be able to find some kind of loophole, basically, where he can make shorts content and he can animate memes or pay people to animate memes, and it does well, and that's good for him. But, I mean, on the animator side, like, if you're not going to, what's the saying? Work smarter, not harder. It's no one's fault but your own if you're being paid less. You agreed to the terms before you work with someone, right? Like, this drama is so stupid. Like, get a job somewhere else or just get a real job. instead of being an art school dropout. I don't know. You can negotiate your salary. And this isn't even a salary, to be clear, because a salary implies that there's an employment contract, but there's not. This is contract labor that you have agreed to do. Like, I understand being a little bit peeved about it if you feel like you're not being paid enough for your work. But like, the solution to that is not to make an expose video about the guy or talk to some like commentary YouTuber about it. The solution is, to be clear, in a professional sense, the solution is to talk to the guy about it. And if he doesn't agree to pay you more, then you just go work somewhere else. You just go work somewhere else. That's literally it. Why take 50 if you want to be paid more? Go work for someone who will pay you more. Or if there isn't someone who will pay you more, then maybe animation isn't the right industry for you.
Look at your company and say that the people who are purposefully being lazy are playing it smart, then clearly there is something wrong.
No, actually, there's not clearly something wrong. This is not high art, okay? This is not some kind of amazing DreamWorks animated film, okay? This is not The Fox and the Hound. This is a fucking YouTube channel. This is a fucking YouTube video. The world is not some reality you get to live in where you can just... Actually, in a sense, it kind of is. The world is actually a reality you can live in where you can shape it to your own will. If you don't like the reality of what you're being paid, then get a different job or work smarter at what you do. This is so stupid. This is so fucking stupid. Not gonna lie, when he started making content with numerous different art styles, I knew something was up. How can you switch art style after art style each time in one day? It was pretty much different people, but who cares? $50 is crazy low, even for a simple animation style. We pay our artists a lot more than that, and they aren't even animators, and we always credit our talent. I make a laughably small single-digit percentage compared to what Nutshell makes. If I can pay my artists fairly, so can they, many, many times over, and still not worry about rent. To many animators who work for Nutshell, hit me up. I love your work, and I've been looking to test the waters with animated content. I'd pay you a lot more than Nutshell, guaranteed. Okay, well, you can enjoy making less money for more work. You can enjoy doing that if that's what you want to do. But not everyone has to do that. Not everyone has to run their business at a near loss. Like, that's your choice. Go work for that other guy. Why are you complaining about Nutshell Animations? Who fucking cares? You agreed to be paid a certain amount of money and then cry about it after the fact? That's really what we're doing? This is ridiculous.
I shouldn't have to say this because it's common sense, but you should not reward laziness. That's just not something that you should do as a company. But the system he has set up is...
You shouldn't reward laziness? Why not? If the laziness makes more money, then why would you not? Oh, you shouldn't reward something that takes less time and ultimately makes more money. Why would you not if someone is more efficient at their job? And to be clear, the end goal is to make money from a business. What the fuck is the issue? What is the issue?
Verbatim rewarding laziness. And he is still, somehow, in my opinion, underpaying both of these people. Both of them. Animator 1, definitely. Like, he's getting But I even think Animator 2 is getting slightly underpaid. Because, like I'm about to show, they're not just animating. They are also creating the videos from the ground up. So after I asked for the screenshots and I, shared the numbers and whatever, I asked Animator 1, so what's the behind the scenes like? Like, when he asks you to do an animation, what does that entail?
It's not lazy if it's efficient. You guys are crazy. Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, so let's say I want to have a video edited, okay? Let's say I want to have a video edited. Let's say there's one guy that's going to take 3 hours to do it, hypothetically, and that's not the time it takes to edit a video. But let's say there's one guy who's going to take 3 hours to do it, okay? Let's say there's another guy that's going to take 6 hours to do it, okay? The guy who takes 3 hours uses a lot of like Adobe Premiere presets and plugins and stuff like that makes the process a lot faster so he can get it done faster. The other guy does all the effects and stuff from the ground up on his own. The video looks the same in the end and makes the same amount of money. Why the would I pay the guy who takes longer just out of some like mysterious virtue that he creates all of the effects on his own when I could just pay the guy who gets it done faster? And the guy who gets it done faster, I can pay him again for another 3 hours of work and he'll get paid more than the other guy because he's doing it in a more efficient manner. It's like, why would you reward a guy who gets work done faster? Gee, I don't know. Maybe because time is money. Maybe because we have a limited amount of time on this earth and I want to make as much money as possible from the stuff that I pay for. This is so stupid. Like, also, you call this guy lazy. It's not laziness. It's just being efficient. Efficiency is a very big thing that really matters. If you want to get content out as much as possible to make as much money as possible, why would you not pay the guy who gets it done in a more efficient manner more often? That makes a lot of sense. Like everyone loves saying work smarter, not harder until someone actually does it. And then they have like a mental breakdown about it. Depends how much virtue means to you. I don't think there's an inherent virtue though in paying someone who gets work done slow. Like there's no inherent virtue in that. Who are you helping? Who are you saving by doing that? It's like, oh, is it somehow inherently virtuous to pay a guy who gets work done slower than a guy who gets work done faster because the guy who gets it done slower spends more time on it? If the product is the same? No. That means the guy who takes slower is bad at his job. That means he needs to get better. He should be doing what the other guy is doing, Animator 1 versus Animator 2, whatever this dichotomy is. That's what business is. Every successful business, in the words of Sun Bear, is trying to minimize the cost to profit ratio. That is what a business is about.
Does he send the audio and explain what it should look like? Or does he just set you loose and basically make you do all of it? In which he replied with 3 different screenshots. The first one is some like AI generated video that he wants to steal the audio from. And the debriefing he gives is literally just...
No, he stole the audio from an AI generated koala video with a cat. No, dude. This guy's hilarious.
Make the dude be Hazelnut and the sister Peanut, which are like 2 of his characters. But that's it. He doesn't explain it any further. He literally just says that. Change the 2 characters. That's it. So all of the other little creative changes that, especially if you're an animator, you understand what I'm saying. There's, all of the little things that, need explaining and, like movement, overall vibe, like whatever it is, there's nothing of that. There's no kind of instruction. It's just, hey, make these 2 different characters, but don't copy the video. You got to do all that shit your own. Okay. Just change these 2 characters. It's like, bro, that's not even a good commission. I swear to God, I put it on my life that any Fiverr animator, if they got this, they just wouldn't do it. Because you are supposed to explain shit. You're supposed to...
Well, then why are these people doing it? Any Fiverr animator, any Fiverr Indian who lives in a hut wouldn't even take this work. Well, then why are you taking it? Why are you agreeing to do it? Honest question, does it ever bother you? Everything we do as Americans is underpinned by thought of money. Everything we worry about is money related. Putting ourselves second to money is commonplace. I don't think you necessarily have to put yourself second to money. I don't know. Does it bother me? I mean, I guess, yeah, to an extent. But that's I don't know. That's the world we live in. I'm not under any delusion. You have to make money to live. What do you want me to say? I wonder what Galab would have to say about the situation. He'd probably agree with me and love me. Like, the dumbest shit about this is, like, as someone says in chat, these guys could have just started their own channels and made all the money, right? If Nutshell Animation is essentially just a guy who decides to pay people to do all the work and do none of it himself and make the money, then just like start your own channel and do it. Just do it yourself. If the brief doesn't make sense to you, as someone in chat says also, like ask them to explain more instead of just complaining about it to someone else. Like talk to the guy. He's a fucking human being. You can ask for more instruction. If you feel like he doesn't give enough instruction for you to get the work done properly, then don't work for him. Work for someone else.
To, tell what you want. This is not that. Anyways, in screenshot 2, he sends one of his own videos that another animator made, and he says, a remake, but up the humor and fluidity. Keep the characters the same, but go off the impact of the joke as much as you can. I leave the visuals to you. This one's a little better than the last one, I'll admit, but that is still nothing. Like, I just find it absolutely bizarre that this dude doesn't even make the jokes. He just steals the audio. He doesn't make the animations. He has other people do it for him. And he doesn't even come up with any part of the animation. None of it. None of it at all. He literally just said, I leave the visuals to you.
Is this something he's like hiding? Is he saying on his YouTube channel, I animate all of my own stuff and I do it all myself and I take credit for all of this and I make the audios? Like, is he doing that? Probably not. I feel like this guy would have said that in this video. So all I can see so far is he found a way to make money relatively easily. He offered to pay people in exchange for helping him out. They agreed to it and they're now mad after the fact. Like what the fuck is the problem? What is the issue? Like, we don't live in a world where this is the only job you can take. Go work somewhere else. I haven't even seen these guys bring up any of these issues with Nutshell Animations once so far. It's like he doesn't have a gun pointed to your head. You're not kept in his dank basement, I assume. Like, if you're going to act like a loser, you're going to lose.
Brother, that's your job. I mean, dude, what do you do? What, like, I'm being straight up for real. What does this guy do other than press the post button? And like, listen, I understand that I'm maybe getting worked up about some stupid shit, but it's like, this would all be fine. Like him not explaining it, it would all be fine if he just paid the animators what they're worth. But he doesn't, even though you can easily tell.
But like, what they're worth is not necessarily up to them. What they're worth in the interaction with Nutshell Animation is up to him because he's the guy offering the payment for the work. So ultimately, what they are worth is what they are paid. If you feel like your work is worth more in some abstract sense, then go work for someone who will pay you more for the work. Just go work for someone else. It's like, hey man, I'm looking for work. Will you pay me to do some work? Yeah, man, I'll pay you $50 for this work. Okay, cool. You do the work, you get paid $50. After the fact, you run to some fucking commentary YouTuber. Like, I seriously don't understand what is going on. Anyway.
Tell here that they run his channel. All of it. He does nothing to contribute to his own channel. He doesn't even help with the ideas. The best debrief I've seen him give is in the third screenshot. He said, next audio, have Nutshell and Hazelnut looking at a computer screen with a picture of Obama chowing down a hot dog like one of those ones from the video, and have them go back and forth with those bars about Obama. Which, obviously, I have zero context for that, so I have no clue what he's talking about. But all that aside, he's at least helping. A tiny bit, but I would still say that he's definitely not doing enough. Especially not for $50. For real, would you do this? If your boss gave you instructions that were this shitty and unclear, and you know that you're about to spend 8 hours on it just to make 50 measly dollars, would you do it? I know.
Yeah, would you do it? And they agree to do it. That's the point. Yes, you do. You just said, dude, he just said it.
8 hours on it just to make 50 measly dollars, would you do it?
And these people are so that they do it anyway, and then they have the audacity to complain about it after the fact. Literally, they consent to the interaction, and then after the fact, they have a mental breakdown about it. You agreed to this. You literally agreed to this.
I know I wouldn't. 100%. I wouldn't even think about it. I'd tell them to fuck off.
Well, then why aren't these people doing this? Why aren't they doing that? These people are idiots. Nutshell Animation is just doing what you would expect them to do in any situation. These people are idiots.
Especially if said boss relies entirely on me to run his fucking company. Listen, I'm not going to dwell on this because I have a lot more to go over. And this is a comment that I've made in the past. This dude does nothing for his channel. Nothing. You'd expect more of him when it comes to pay. Because the people he's paying literally do all the fucking work. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
But you can't expect more if the expectation has already been laid out ahead of time. Like, it's literally already been laid out ahead of time. I'll reiterate again. These people approach Nutshell Animation. They say, I want to work for you. He says, okay, here's the amount of money I'm willing to pay you. They say, okay, deal. They do the work. He pays them. And after the fact, they cry about it. This is such a nothing burger, bro.
Anyways, that's just the payment section of the video. Trust me, it gets a lot worse. Anyways, after asking about the behind the scenes, I said, one question that I do have though is about crediting animators. Does he say that he will and just doesn't, or does he outright tell you there will be no credit? To which Animator 1 said, he never has said he would credit his animators. Once, I responded to the comments under the animation I did for him that said, nice animation, and I replied with, thanks, I'm the animator who made this video. And then Nutshell contacted me in the DMs and told me to stop replying to comments because people were beginning to recognize my style under his videos. He said his brand is based around having no face or something like that, and told me to stop replying as a whole. I can provide screenshots from this as well, which obviously I asked for the screenshots after a tasteful diss. And here are those messages. Good to see people appreciate your animation in the comments, huh? Lol. The f*** is that response? By the way, if you don't mind, could you please refrain from individually responding to comments that comment regarding the animation? The purpose of Nutshell Animation is to be identityless, and we don't want to put an individual to pieces. We've got about 20 animators and they are not to identify their individual pieces. It's not a problem at the moment. It'll become a problem when other animators want to start heckling under their video, and we want to make sure the comments don't take away from the content. My agency pointed this out as they've seen multiple responses from you. Just keep it in mind for next time.
I mean, the thing is, like, this is more of a gray area because they didn't agree to it either way ahead of time. But, like, I will say, if you're an animator, it is on you to say that you want credit ahead of time, right? Like, that is totally on you. Is it weird that he's like, please don't respond to comments? Like, he has no real right to do that. Sure. But at the same time, if you wanted to be credited ahead of time, you should have been like, hey, I want to be credited for my work ahead of time. And if he was like, I'm not going to credit you, then don't work for him, right? Like, this is just business 101. If you want to be credited for your work, the onus is on you to request that credit ahead of time and set the terms of the work you're doing, rather than get mad after the fact that it's not being upheld, right? Like, you need to speak up for yourself, negotiate the credit ahead of time. It is a nice courtesy for him to credit you, but unless he agreed to it ahead of time, he has no obligation to do that for you.
I told my agency you didn't know, so it's not an issue, so no worries.
We make sure there's no identity to the content, especially no one identifying themselves in the comments. It's cool if others know themselves. And he says, oh, okay, sorry about that. No big deal. It's okay. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I appreciate your work and I get happy that you get recognized with your style too. And then he says, sorry if it seems rude to ask, but why?
The thing is, like, if you want to be recognized for your work, you should probably be doing it on your own channel. Like, you probably should be. You probably shouldn't be doing it for this animation content farm conglomerate that is trying to make as much money as possible off of, like, the lowest effort animation memes possible. Like, if you want to get credit for your work, start your own personal brand, animate yourself, get paid yourself, right? If he's making this much money off of YouTube Shorts, and it's like, for 8 hours, it's 8 hours of work to make a YouTube short. And if he makes, 20 of them, he's potentially making 15 grand off of that. Why are you not doing that? Like, what is the reason that you're not doing that? I don't get that. Whoever said that money is only important in America needs to read more. Money runs everyone's lives. Even nomadic people have currency systems and economic hierarchies. I got family that are millionaires with cattle. I mean, I guess what that guy was talking about is the idea that in the United States, I mean, right now, definitely there is like an economic situation where a lot of people can't buy a house, or a lot of people, some people can't buy for groceries. Like, there is like a wealth gap, and I'm sympathetic to that. But at the same time, like, Nutshell Animation is not the government. I don't really expect him to behave in any certain way. If he offers people work and they agree to be paid for that much money, you can't really get mad after the fact that you got paid that much money. This is not like a dishonest interaction. Like, they know ahead of time what they're going to be paid.
Why do you have it set up in that fashion? Usually for people who have a team of people making work for them, they usually have credits at the end. No, that's not usually the case, and it's entirely up to the brand. The sole purpose of the Nutshell Animation theme is to be identityless. No race, no face, no color, no ethnicity. Faceless creator. No one knows who the creator is, let alone the animators. I hope you respect that, as it is extremely important to the entire brand. Hope you understand it's more about keeping the brand values in line. There's no credit system within the videos, that's why it's payment per creation. So listen, I'm gonna break this into parts and, really
These baboons can't self-advertise. I do art commissions too. I just don't conform to one person. There's no contract, no obligations unless I set them. Yeah, exactly. If you want to exist in a professional business world, you need to behave like a professional. You need to ask up front. And if you're not asking up front, you shouldn't assume you're going to get anything, right? It's not necessarily industry standard, especially online, to have your work credited. It's just not. That's not how it works. If you want that to be the standard that you uphold yourself to, then you need to request that ahead of time. Nutshell Animation so far in this video that I've seen has done literally nothing wrong. I have not seen him do anything weird, anything strange. He is not being dishonest with these people. He is offering them a payment that they agree to. Tom, would you say working for exposure is ethical if the animator agreed to the terms? Yes, absolutely. If they agree to the terms, absolutely. That is ethical. If you agree to do a certain amount of work, which is very time consuming, you agree to do it for free, and you agree to be paid in exposure, like that's what you agreed to. Hey, Tom, waiting for the day you do the Charleston. This is not a threat on your life based. When I pay people for work, I pay them more than this guy pays per hour. And I also like to establish long-term business relationships so that my contractors want to work with me for a long time, right? That's the way that I run my business. And that's just the way I do it. But if other people want to do it in a different way, they can do that. And if the contractors agree to be paid a certain amount of money for the work they do, that is up to them. This is not adult behavior. You cannot agree to be paid a certain amount of money and then get mad after the fact you got paid that amount of money, right? You're not an employee. They are not beholden to some kind of like worker rights. You're a contractor. Tom, have you heard the balls in your jaw drama? There's a lot of them in mine. At what point would that be taking advantage of the contracted worker? Not advocating either way, but where does ethics come in? Well, like, how is it taking advantage of them if they agree to it, right? We live in a society with free will. We live in a society where you're not obligated to do anything for anyone. If you're agreeing to do work without pay, and you could do work with pay somewhere else, like what do you expect to happen here? Your work is not inherently valuable. Your work is as valuable as you make it. Animation is not inherently a very profitable thing. It's just not. That's just not the way it works. There are certain things that are just not that profitable. If you want to start a fucking knitting business on Etsy, go and do it with the idea that you may not make that much money from it. If people aren't willing to pay for it, that's just how it is. In this case, Nutshell Animations gets paid a good amount of money for paying other people to do this work for him. You can say that's unfair, but life isn't fair. That's not how the world works. If you agree to be paid a certain amount of money for work, you can't really be mad after the fact. You can be somewhat perturbed by it. You can't really expect Nutshell Animation to act any differently, though. Do the $5 before I go to work. $5? You don't have $5? That's what I'm going to say to these animators. You don't have $50?
Dissect it in just a second, because pretty much everything this guy just said
pisses me off. It's extremely manipulative. But one of the big points that I'd like
It's not. How is it manipulative? It's not manipulative at all. He told you exactly how he feels about the situation. If you have a problem with the fact you're not being credited, go work for someone else, where up front you say, I want to be credited. It's not this. There's no manipulation. He told you exactly how he felt. Is he some kind of like puppet master that like can like get inside of your mind and make you do things? No, he's a guy. He's one guy that you talk to on the internet.
to address now is him saying that crediting the animators would take away from the content. That is bullshit. Blatantly. That is a lie. He does not believe that. Nobody believes that. Nobody has ever believed that. Nobody will ever believe that. Especially in the case of a YouTube short channel that, when you really break it down, just steals jokes.
The thing is, like, it's not up to you, though. Like, it's not really up to you. If that's how he feels and that's the way he wants to run his business, like, that's what he's going to do. Like once again, if that's the way he wants to run his business and he feels it takes away from the brand, it is what it is. If he wants to be a nameless, faceless channel that doesn't have anyone behind it, that's fair. I mean, part of the problem for him could be that he wants to run a very uncontroversial channel. Some of these animators could be saying wild shit on their social media, and if somebody finds out about that, it could reflect negatively on Nutshell Animations, right? That's a real possibility. He doesn't want to be responsible for any of these other people's opinions or things they do in their free time. He only wants to be responsible for himself. That's a very real concern. If you don't like it, don't work for him. GamerSupps code, gamersupps.gg/Tom. It's on screen right now. Go get it. 10% off, baby.
That's it. That's what the channel does. In my opinion, there's not really much that can be taken away there. But whatever, that channel aside, if we're just talking animations in general, crediting the person who did the work is not going to take away from the work. Actually, I'd say that it would add to it. Nutshell, your channel is f***ing soulless. Scrolling the Nutshell Animations catalog.
Yeah, true. That's true. But so why do these people agree to work for a soulless channel? You're part of the soulless ecosystem, dude. These people are part of the soulless ecosystem. They agree to be a part of it. They're just as soulless as him. They're offering to be, they are willingly being paid a certain amount for their work. So what, dude? I love nothing burgers, a cup of buzzword soup. I do too. It's so manipulative. Like what? How is it manipulative? In what way? How did he manipulate them?
Is like taking a stroll in a desolate wasteland. There's nothing. There is no personality. Trust me, bro. You would benefit from putting a face to your animations.
Not really. No, actually. Being soulless sometimes is actually what you want to do in a business. You don't want to have any personality tied to it, because personalities, people's faces, can be controversial. If there's no face, if there's no opinion attached, literally all it is a meme. It's funny. There's nothing behind it. It's just a content farm. That's it. That's the way most businesses operate, actually. In the real world, most businesses don't want to be controversial. They don't want to have opinions that, are attached to it that people can agree with one way or the other. They don't want to have political opinions attached to it that people can agree with one way or the other. They can divide the audience. They just want to make money. That is the way that most businesses run. They want to make as much money as possible and appeal to as many people as possible. The second you attach someone's face to these things is the second when they can become controversial. Artists are, I'm sorry, dude. I like art. I really like art, but some artists are the most entitled fucking losers in the world. And this is like peak example of that. Peak example. Like, they think that because they have spent a lot of time on their animation and because they spent a lot of time drawing in middle school, that their work is inherently valuable or they deserve to be paid some amount for it. No, you deserve to be paid exactly what you get paid. If Nutshell Animation is like agreeing to pay you a certain amount and then he's not holding up his end of the bargain, that is shitty. Unless he does that, you agreed to an interaction, you agreed to a sale, he paid you for it. I do not understand how this many people are raging about this. Nutshell Animation trying not to be weird 24/7. I knew it all along. I knew something was fishy was going on when I discovered Nutshell wouldn't credit anyone. I kept trying to find info about who makes the animations or the team, but never did. As an animator that does frame-by-frame animation, very glad you shed some light on this. $50 is a steal. Well then, don't get stolen from. This is like someone walking up to you without a gun, without a firearm. This is like someone walking up to you and being like, hey man, can I have all your money? And you're like, are you threatening me? They're like, no, I just want your money. And you're like, oh, okay. You give them your money. The guy leaves and you're like, what the fuck? He took my money. It's like, dude, what do you expect to happen?
Crediting your animators would add a level of humanity to your channel that it has never had. It would.
Yeah, newsflash, the most popular content in the world is absolutely soulless. It is absolutely soulless, because the second you inject a little bit of humanity is when that human can become controversial. Any person, any opinion, anything with any substance that is seen by more and more and more people, you will inherently split the audience. You will. That's just the way it works. Making content that is the most soulless thing possible will always be the most popular content. That's just how it works. That's just how it works. It's like Mr. Beast is soulless. Yeah, no shit. He's Mr. Beast. He's trying to reach the most people possible. He's not trying to make a David Fincher film. He's trying to make a fucking Mr. Beast video. If these people don't value themselves, why should I value them?
Would no longer be just a channel that steals jokes. It would be a channel that helps animators practice their craft while rewarding them in the process. You crediting the people that make you would have a full 180 effect on the channel, where it would be a good thing. But that's not what you want. Clearly what you want, and just going off of the messages that you sent, what you want is for people to think that it's a one-man army. And I'm just a really hard worker. You're fucking greedy, dude.
I don't think that's necessarily what he wants. That could be the case. But if these people agree to those terms ahead of time, like, so what? If that's what these people want to do, that's their choice. They agree to this interaction. It's like he's greedy. He wants to make money. Boo fucking who? Boo hoo, dude.
What it is. It's not about holding values and keeping your brand identityless. It's about making as much money as possible and sucking your own dick in the process.
As I already brought up, like, this guy doesn't seem to have any ego around this because he doesn't even use his own voice in his videos. He doesn't seem to want his personality to be attached to it. I think it's more just he knows that by injecting personality and by injecting real people into the situation, it can become a controversial thing. He probably wanted to avoid any kind of controversy mounting on his channel from various people that work for him, potentially saying things that he would have to then like condemn or deal with, right? As soon as like people in a public facing sense get involved in anything, it can become so annoying to deal with. It can become so fucking annoying, right? So annoying. So annoying. Like one thing that I ask of my contractors, for example, right, is don't get involved in drama. Don't get involved in internet drama. Because when you work for me, if you get involved in drama and you fuck up or you do something controversial, that can reflect poorly on me as a person. It can become like, Turkey Tom's editor said what? Turkey Tom's editor did what? You know what I mean? It can become a very annoying thing to deal with. I don't make them sign a contract for it, but I do ask them not to. That's part of the terms of the contract work people do for me. And people have a right to say that. People have a right to do that. He's keeping his brand uncancelable. Yes, you're right. Yaposaurus Rex.
And that point is only further justified by the fact that you pay 2 doubloons per animation. Like, dude, you're not fooling anybody. That's clearly what the f is going on. Anyways, a few points that I'd like to go over from these messages. He says, the purpose of Nutshell is to be identityless. Which again, no, it's not. We don't want to put in...
Why? Yes, it is. What is the identity you get when you go to this channel, dude? What is the identity and personality you're getting when you go to this fucking meme farm?
I found it! Found what? The key to immortality. Say on God. On God. Okay, what is it? McDonald's?
Like, what is the identity behind this? What is the identity behind this? It's clearly content made to just make memes to post on the internet that brain rot viewers and I guess like children will watch. What is the identity? He explicitly wants to have no identity. And it's not your page. It's not your business. It's not up to you how he runs his business. If he's lying to people or doing something unethical, then there is a criticism to be made there. But there's nothing inherently unethical about agreeing to pay someone an amount of money and they take that money. That is what business is. Hey man, do you want to clean my car for $100? Yeah, I'll clean your car for $100. Afterwards gets mad. It's like, you agreed to that. That's the amount of money you agreed to. You set the value of your own work. If people are unwilling to pay you that value for your own work, maybe you need to reconsider things. Maybe your work isn't as good as you think it is. Maybe these people's animations are not worthy of being in anything else if this is the most amount of money they can get paid for it. Sometimes you will dump a lot of time and effort into a skill that ultimately doesn't end up being that marketable. And animation is really one of those things. Same with art in general. Unfortunately, that is the world we live in. Do you believe in minimum wage? Yeah, I do believe in minimum wage, but these people aren't employees, right? These people are contractors. They're not his employee. They are doing contract work on the internet. Like if the professional way to deal with this is like, if you don't want to work with this guy, just don't work with him. It's as simple as that. You can say no to a job. He's not mentally raping you into doing this.
Well, 2 pieces. We have about 20 animators, and they are not to identify their individual pieces. I think it's kind of wild that he's talking about these animators.
This feels reminiscent when Papa Meat's editors complained about pay and termination because they were insanely unreliable contractor. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like, he agreed to pay me this amount of money for my work, and I did it. But he's making way more money. It's like, yeah, that's what running a fucking business is, bro. He's trying to make money. Everybody's just trying to get their bag, okay? These guys are trying to get their bag and get the most amount of money for the work they do. So is Nutshell Animation. He figured out how to work pretty smart. He figured out how to make a lot of money from brain rot content. Is it good content? No, it's absolute dog shit, and the animation doesn't save it, frankly. But like, you agreed to these terms. You agreed to this.
As if he's their boss. At the end of the day, there is no contract. There is no employment process. It's a commission. They can comment all they want. And I know that he's not really going after the animator here. He literally starts the conversation with, could you refrain? But it still just kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Lord Vega in chat says, what year is it? Well, I thought this kind of issue was done with. They need to grow up. Yes, exactly. And Lord Vega, you're somebody who has worked for me. You're somebody who's done a lot of contract work. You know that if you feel like you're not getting paid enough for the work you're doing, you can just say no to it, right? Like, you are an adult who can just say no. That is how the world works.
Like, he's talking a little bit too stern here. Anyways, he then says, it's not a problem at the moment. It'll become a problem when other animators want to start heckling under their video. I think it's f***ing bizarre to use the word heckling here, as if the animators going into the comments and claiming their credit, the credit that you refuse to give them, is malicious.
But like, why didn't they ask for that credit ahead of time? Like, by that same token, why don't you apply the same standard to them? It's like, you refuse to give it to them. Okay. Did they ask for credit ahead of time? Did they agree to that? Once again, these people should be agreeing to the terms of their contract work before they get contracted, before they get commissioned. This is very simple. It's not that hard to figure out. Most of these people are kids that don't understand the difference between contract work and employment. There's pros and cons to both lines of work. Yeah, true. This is like Lewis McClung territory. Maybe not quite as bad because I don't have to see Lewis McClung's fan blowing his long, gay red hair, but like, this is really, really stupid, dude.
Or they have ill intent. They want to tarnish the Nutshell name. That is not what's happening, bro. They're in the comments claiming the animation because why?
They don't want to tarnish the Nutshell brand. 1 minute later, runs to commentary YouTuber to complain about the fact that they got paid the work, the amount that they agreed to do for the work. Yeah, he probably was trying to avoid a situation like this, where these people spurg the fuck out about nothing. He knows how entitled and annoying some artists can be.
Why? Because they did the animation.
Like, artists have this idea in their head. Okay, you get this idea in your head, and I get it. I get it to an extent, but it is a delusion. They have this idea in their head that because they've spent a lot of time on a skill, they deserve to be paid for it. And it's like, no, your skill is not inherently valuable. We live in a capitalist free market where the amount that you get paid for what you do is ultimately determined by how much money that work makes and how much money the person making money off of your work agrees to pay you. You know, you're not an employee of him. You're not legally obligated to be paid a certain amount of money. You're doing contract work for him. It is freelance work. You're not beholden to benefits. You're not beholden to insurance. You're not beholden to dental stuff, right? The only thing you are deserving of in this situation is being paid the exact amount that he agreed to ahead of time. What's the moral distinction that allows a contractor to accept $1 an hour, but it's wrong for an employee to accept $1 an hour? Well, the moral distinction is that an employee is a legal term for a company where you are beholden to certain rights as an employee, right? And there are differences in different states and different areas, but as an employee, you're an official, basically member of the company, right? And you are therefore legally determined to be deserving of certain things. When you're a contractor, you are your own business, right? As an individual, or if you have an LLC, you can be an entity, your own business interacting with another business. It's business to business interaction, right? Versus being a part of that business officially. If you agree to be paid a certain amount of money for contract work and you accept that money, that's the situation you're in. That's the world we're in. If you want to be paid more for your work, go work for someone else. If the work that you do won't be paid more by someone else, then your work ultimately isn't that valuable. You're not entitled to be paid more for contract labor. Lord Vega says exactly right. The client can only pay what they afford to sustain the business, and one of your main goals is to ensure your artist's work supports the client's success. Yes, of course. And to be clear, I have run into a lot of situations where I will pay someone for contract labor, and ultimately I lose money on that. I don't go back to that person and I ask them for the money back. I agreed to that payment ahead of time, so I can't be mad about that after the fact. But that is like the flip side of this. Like, if you say, hey, I'll pay you this much money for this much work, no matter what, they say, okay. And then the client or whatever gets mad about that after the fact, that you can't really be mad. You agreed to pay them for that work that they did. You can't spurg about that. But this goes both ways. Ellie for 2 says, wee woo. True. Thanks for streaming early so I can watch at the start of my shift in the coal mines. Good luck in the coal mines, bro.
And you won't tell anybody. Yeah, dude, if I spend 8 hours on an animation that you underpaid me for, then refuse to credit me, you bet your ass, I'd be in the comments.
Well, maybe you should have asked to be credited ahead of time, you fucking loser.
I'd say something about it. It's not an aggressive attack. It's not heckling. It's claiming credit where it's due. And also, it's not doing any damage. Let's be for real for a second, okay? You say it's about protecting the values, which I do not believe. But even if it is, like I said earlier, Animator One's videos get like 3 million average viewers.
How can this guy not possibly consider the liability that comes from having public-facing people? Public-facing people can be weird, especially animators. I'm not saying anything about these specific animators, but we know especially animators are prone to being strange people. Okay, we know that. They can have weird fetishes. They can have weird tendencies. Not all of them. It's a small subset, but animators and artists are strange people. They're unorthodox people. Oftentimes the things they do and engage in can be controversial. You don't want your brand to be represented by that, especially when you're making cartoons that are seen by a very wide audience. That can be a major liability. Fuck the dude in the coal mines, wee woo on top girls. Okay, dude. Tying your brand to a face would be bad. The best example is Subway with Jared Fogle. I mean, even beyond that, right? There are more tame examples, right? There are much more tame examples. I would probably be a lot better off as a brand of a person if I just never said what I thought about anything. If I like was just a totally faceless channel. If this channel didn't exist, right? The Tom Dark Live channel where I give my opinions on situations like this and I just held my tongue. As a brand, I'd probably be better off because there'd be nothing to disagree with. There'd be nothing, right? But I'm okay with people finding me disagreeable because I find it fun. I find it fun. And like, ultimately, I do, like, I'm not saying I don't make money from streaming, but what I am saying is that, like, as a brand, I can become a controversial person the more my personality is attached to it. It's not because I'm some sort of, like, red-pilled Sigma male. It's just because when any person's personality is attached to anything, that can become a disagreeable thing, right? I am literally in love with you. Well, thanks for the dono. Keep sending me money. Won't be reciprocated, though.
How many are really seeing that comment? How many? Like 20 max? Get over yourself, dude. This just proves the fact that you do not care about the values. You care about your image. And you got your feelings hurt because 20 people were shown the truth. They were shown that you don't do your work. That's why you're messaging him. That's it. Verbatim. You literally just got pressed because 20 people now know that you're not the big man behind the animations. Grow up, bro. My agency pointed this out as they've seen multiple.
But the thing is, we haven't seen him go out and say, like, I made all these animations myself and I'm the animator behind them. Frankly, to be honest, this is the artist mindset because most people, when they watch an animation, the average person does not care who made it, right? The average person who's not like some kind of animation art production nerd, when they watch an animated movie, they're not thinking, oh my God, I want to know all the animators behind this. The average person's thinking, oh, Pixar did it. Well, I guess Pixar did it. Shout out Pixar, right? Shout out DreamWorks. They're not thinking about all the people behind the scenes. They don't give a fuck. This is a very artist mindset. And it's a very toxic artist mindset because you get the idea that your work that you do because it's an artistic thing is inherently valuable and you should be credited. If you agree ahead of time to be credited, which you should, to be clear, you should. If you're an animator, you should be vying for the things that you want. You should be vying for the amount of money you want to be paid. That's your responsibility. That's on you, though. YouTube, in essence, is almost like a contract job. You make content for people to put up and hope you get paid. Therefore, you can't pay the highest amount because the monetization can hurt the business. I mean, to be clear, you can pay more if you want. But the thing is, like, YouTube is technically a contract job with Google. You're actually right in that sense. But even beyond that, I don't even think that's the most important comparison. The comparison more, to be clear, because this guy... You don't even need like the demonetization risk or any of that shit because obviously that can't happen. But with Nutshell Animations and the stuff he's making, he's probably not running a big risk of that. The thing really is just at the end of the day, if you agree to be paid a certain amount of money for work that you do, you can't really get mad after the fact. You are not owed this money. You are not owed more than you agree to be paid. And I say this as someone who regularly pays artists, regularly pays contractors, and I pay them a lot more than Nutshell Animations. But that's because I want to establish a long-standing business relationship with them where we both make a bunch of money and are very happy from it, right? Obviously, I'm still thinking in my head, okay, how can I make sure that the cost that I'm paying for this work makes sense for what I get out of it? I'm still thinking about that.
Full responses from you. Just keep this in mind for next time. Now, I'll really get into this in just a second, but keep that comment in mind. Anyways, the last point I'd like to go over.
He says keep it in mind for next time. There doesn't have to be a next time. You don't have to keep working for him, to be clear. You don't have to.
And I'm not going to dwell on it, but he says here, we make sure there's no identity to the content, especially no one identifying themselves in the comments. As if that's like a normal issue. As if that shit's like written in the rule book that his agency has. It's like, bro, come on.
But like that's the way he wants to run his business. Like it is his rule book. Like that's his rules. That's what he wants. There's a reason why you don't see the odd ones out talking about political issues very often, okay? It's because he and most YouTubers know that if you get into politics, and I say this as someone who's generally just not that interested in politics, he knows, though, that if you get involved in political issues, it can be controversial, okay? One little comment can be very bad. What if one of these animators in the comments was like, hey man, great animation. By the way, vote for Donald Trump or vote for Kamala Harris. That could easily divide a lot of the audience. It could be a controversial thing where people don't want to watch that channel anymore if they're like, oh my God, can't believe that they're letting someone from MAGA animate for this channel. Or, oh my God, I can't believe they're letting some libtard animate for this channel. Like, it can easily divide the audience. Anytime any personality is injected to content like this, it can divide the audience. And that's not something that Nutshell Animations is interested in. How is this real? Bro, just ask for more money and credit, like stand up for yourself. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. New drama. I willingly accepted low pay as contractor and I'm mad about it. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, what? This is so dumb.
This is either the first time that this has ever happened and you're just making that shit up, or it does happen semi-regularly and it hurts your feelings every time.
I honestly don't think this is a feelings thing. I don't think the Nutshell Animation has any ego around this. I think he just wants to make as much money as possible. I don't think he gives a fuck.
Either way, this is just LARPing. Hey, my company says not to do that. Okay, buddy. Anyways, after he had sent...
What do you mean it's LARPing? You don't know. Maybe he does have an agency. Maybe the agency told him that's the best way to run it and he wants to adhere to that. You don't know that. You have no idea. You don't know this guy. You're just making a giant assumption as if you know. You clearly have no experience in doing any kind of business if this is the thing, this is the way that you think people should be running their business.
Sent me these messages. I brought up the point that he's using the agency thing as a shield quite heavily. I said, I honestly think there is no agency, and he's using that as a way of disconnecting himself from his bullshit. So instead of saying, hey, don't comment because it's bad for my channel, he's saying, my agency doesn't want you commenting. My boy, that is just straight up manipulation.
But how could you possibly know that it's manipulation? You don't know him. You don't know what the agency wants him to do. You have no idea. You literally have no idea. How is it manipulation? To be clear, you can just not work for this guy. He's not manipulating you into working for him. You can choose not to. You can choose to not work for this individual. You chose to do this work. You chose to not request credit up front. You chose to be paid a certain amount that you're now upset about after the fact. Like, just don't work for him.
Now, obviously, this is highly speculatory, and I do bring it up later, and it's sort of proven wrong. I don't know. You'll see what I'm saying. But either way, he is just straight up manipulating him. Anyways, while this conversation was...
Yeah, Vega in chat does bring up most successful YouTubers do have management or an agency, especially if they're like in this very family-friendly space. A lot of them do have agencies. Bad video, we want him in the comments. Yeah, I'll do that. I'm shocked this guy's managed to make this long of a video about something that literally means nothing. Why is he so rambling about agency, Lamau? Well, the reason why is because there's a lot of jilted animators and artists out there who see some sense of camaraderie in listening to this guy yap. I need you to stream 12 hours today, Tom, because I'm working a 12-hour shift, getting paid more than $50 to watch your stream. I probably won't be streaming for 12 hours. We'll see. Bro, I keep having to rage close the stream because of how this is. Yeah, imagine being me when I just have to sit through it. I mean, I guess I don't have to, but I'm choosing to willingly. That's perhaps the worst part about it, okay? I'm just like these animators. You know, I'm sitting through this video. I'm willing to listen to this. I'm forcing myself to watch this while I see, is this Mr. Fantastic? Why does he look like that?
Going. I got a response from Animator 3 in regards to the crediting system, and he replied with some voice messages. He did eventually give me permission to use them, so I will show.
Aphrodite says they didn't expect it to go viral and make 1,000 times the money they make, so it isn't fair for the animators. To be clear, it's not 1,000 times more, but you always run the risk of that when you agree to work. You have to think when somebody's paying you for contract labor, they must be making some amount of money off of that labor. I didn't expect it to go viral. Okay, well, maybe you should have factored that in before you decided to work for him. You should have thought about that. You can't request more money after the fact. Well, to be clear, you can request money, but you can't expect that you get paid more after the fact. You cannot expect that.
Show those now.
So my friend, he actually commented on one of his animations on Nutshell's post saying, oh yeah, I was the one that made this, responding to a comment that said, isn't this or something like that? They actually recognize it. And he was just confirming it, and Nutshell actually DM'd him saying, yo, dude, please don't tell people that, like, I'm hiring other animators. Because Nutshell, he's an individual company. He's not individual. He actually works with higher people than him. Like, I don't know.
Oh, so this guy's saying there is an agency. Didn't this guy that made the YouTube video just say there is no agency and that's just manipulation? And then this guy that works for him is like, oh, there is an agency. So what? Which one is it? Which one is it? This is a direct contradiction. I mean, I'm not saying you have to believe necessarily there's an agency unless you see proof, but you shouldn't just assume there isn't one, especially when one of the animators that works for him is saying that there seems to be an agency involved.
Execs or some shit. And those execs hate the credit. Nutshell, I don't think he cares, but the execs dislike it. And so Nutshell just basically like rewords what they say to us by saying like, guys, don't go around telling people that like you made it. Don't go. Well, he actually was the only person who Nutshell has told directly. Other people go around saying, oh, I made this, and he doesn't really care. I think it's because is popular and he has a recognizable style, so it's like it could actually corrupt him. But besides him, like, he doesn't care. But
he probably just doesn't want to be tied to this other person. If one of those people has a recognizable style and they're popular outside of this stuff, then things that they do can reflect negatively on Nutshell, right? Certainly. There's a lot of guilt by association that goes on in the YouTube community and in like the witch hunting business world, sometimes in general, with the way that people cover this stuff, right? So I think it's totally fair for him to, you know, potentially have some kind of problem with that. Now, if you have a problem with that and you want to be credited for your animation every single time, that is totally fair and that is up to you. And I respect the fact that you want that, but you don't have a right to that credit if you agree to not being credited or if you don't ask for credit ahead of time.
But yeah, I don't know why. Maybe like Nutshell's execs, they want him to have this image where he makes everything and he's just a hard worker and like, oh my god, this dude makes all the animations himself, he's so fucking cool. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I want to be honest, I don't think that very many people in the comment section care about whether or not the YouTube short is animated by who it's animated by. I don't think that this like these extremely generic animations are anything that people are going like, oh my god, this is the most amazing inspirational animation in the world. I don't think that's something that Nutshell Animation cares about taking credit for whatsoever until I've seen proof of otherwise. Breaking news, my boss makes money off my labor. Yeah, it's just like, what? Go exist in your fucking Reddit polycule.
Matter to me, I'm just living by it. Oh, but yeah, we know he won't credit us before we work for him. At least I don't know. I know that. If an animator gets hired by him, who like, because I was already friends with Nutshell animators. If an animator doesn't have any Nutshell friends, he doesn't tell you directly, I won't credit you. I just kind of knew because of my other friends' experience.
So that obviously was talking about the DMs I showed earlier. And, you know, just showing that they are real if you somehow didn't believe they were real. Anyways, the point I'd like to really give attention to is the end, where he says the only reason he knew he wouldn't get credit is because his friends told him. Like, Nutshell does not make that clear. He does not say that you won't get credit, which I guess is fine, you know, because he doesn't ever say that you will get credit. And I'm not even really saying that this is a massive talking point, but just for...
You've been talking about it for like 10 minutes. It's not a massive talking point. That's why I've been talking about the credit for 10 fucking minutes. It's like, dude, ask for credit ahead of time.
For me personally, I think when it comes to creative endeavors like animating, editing, you know, drawing, like pretty much any of those things, in my eyes, crediting is included. Like, it's just one of those...
Yeah, but that's your personal opinion. That's not how the world works. In my eyes, crediting is included. Well, that's in your personal opinion. In my eyes, everyone should behave the way that I feel they should. No, actually, people can decide to behave they want. And if people don't ask for credit ahead of time, they shouldn't necessarily expect it.
Those things that comes with the field, because it's so easy to do. For real. You just type a name. Done. Boom. Credit given. It's expected. So for this guy to not...
It's not necessarily expected, though. It's not. Nothing is expected. Nothing should be expected unless you set that expectation ahead of time.
Not outright say that he's going to refuse credit is just kind of scummy. Anyways, after he had sent me that...
It's just kind of scummy.
I asked him if he had any proof that Nutshell actually did work for executives, if he had any kind of higher-ups. And he said, so my other friend, who's not part of this friend group, meaning the 3 animators I've been talking to, he also works for him. I'm not sure, but I think he's closer to Nutshell. He basically said he thinks there might be managers for him based off some stuff. I don't really remember, sorry, but I just trust his thought. I never gave this thought because it was months ago, and it was just a little conversation starter, you know? And later on, he expanded upon this story with Yo, remember the friend that told me he thinks he works for higher ups? Let's call him Friend W. I just talked to another homie of mine who knows Friend W. Let's call him Friend C. I asked Friend C if he remembers.
I like how we're just trusting these random Discord DMs from these pissed off animators as if they mean anything. It's like, my proof is that a guy on Discord that I can't reveal the identity of said that this happened. Well, then I definitely believe that happened, right? That's totally true.
Friend W saying Nutshell works with higher ups, and Friend C confirms hearing Friend W talk about this. The proof is that Nutshell basically said, I'll have to ask my team. But this is all just eyewitness from Friend W, and this is my story and Friend C's story lining up on how Friend W talked about it. I do remember this conversation I had with Friend W, so I'm confident Nutshell has a team. I don't have clear evidence of screenshots, but I do feel comfortably confident. So obviously, this is all just hearsay from a friend who knows a friend who remembers said friend saying something. Like, it's far from...
Why does whether or not this guy have an agency even matter? Why does it even matter? Whether or not he has an agency, he and the agency or whoever the fuck can decide the terms of the contract labor. If you have a problem with his terms of contract labor, you can vie for better terms. If he won't barter with you in that way, don't work for him. Work for someone else.
From proof. And the sentences that he remembers is Nutshell saying, I'll have to ask my team, which, saying you have a team doesn't mean you have one. But I'm just going to assume he does. Because at the end of the day, it does not matter. I brought up the speculation earlier to say that he was...
Saying he has a team doesn't mean he does. I'm just going to assume he does, based on this random Discord screenshot from someone. But it doesn't matter either way, okay? Good one, dude.
Using it as a shield to look slightly less like a dick, Like, it just does not matter. We all know he's a dickhead. Whether he's more...
Why? How do we know that? I have not seen one dickhead thing he's done in this entire video. Vega in chat says the business model and reasoning from Nutshell doesn't include artist credit. Either deal with it or move on to another client. It's profit focused on the channel's success, not the artist. Yeah, exactly. It's a product. At the end of the day, the art these people are doing is a product. It is a product that is designed to make money. Okay? If you don't want to contribute to that product because you feel like the product is not making you the money that you deserve, that's fair. But you don't have a right to retroactively complain about terms that you agreed to in the first place.
More or less, again, does not matter. So after this, I decided to add all the animators into a group chat so that I didn't have to go back and forth. Why it took me this long, I have no idea.
Aphrodite in chat says, please, Turkey Tom, put yourself in the animator's shoes. How would you feel if you didn't get credited for all the hard work that you did? I might be upset. I might be kind of upset, but that doesn't mean that I would have a right to get mad about something that I agreed to. Your emotions are not always valid. Just because you feel one way doesn't mean that you should project those emotions onto the world and complain. Sometimes you are a victim of your own circumstances. In fact, most of the time people are. This is like, and I'm going to draw a crazy analogy here, but this is basically, in a consensual interaction, the same thing. This is like if I agree to have sex with a guy, because we all know I'm gay. I agree to have sex with a guy. I say, oh, I'm attracted to you. I will have sex with you. After we have consensual sex, I say, he raped me. No, you agreed to have sex. You engaged in it during the interaction. You did not have any problem with it. And after the fact, you're like, oh, what the fuck? What? We just had sex? What the fuck? I didn't know we were going to have sex. It's like, what? How? You said you were going to do it. How do these people expect any different to happen? They agree to be paid a certain amount. They don't agree to any form of credit. Afterward, they're like, what? I didn't get paid more for the work I agreed to do for the amount of money I was agreed to pay. Like, but Tom is rape. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's such a meme. This is such a meme.
But when I made it, I decided to rehash the question of payment, more specifically, like what the process was to get paid. And Animator 1 broke it down like this. Step 1 gives you an audio and description of what he wants, which we've already seen is pretty much nothing. Step 2, you animate the video and keep him up to date with the process. Step 3, you send the animation to Nutshell with revisions if needed. Step 4, he sends you another audio to animate with another description. Step 5, you animate that audio and keep him up to date with the process. Step 6, you send this animation to Nutshell with revisions. And Step 7, he pays you for your work. Step 1 through 6 is all unpaid work. You need to make 2 brain-dead videos for him in order to get paid the crumbs he gives you. Now, I had skipped past this message at the time.
Okay, so why didn't you say, I want to be paid for one video ahead of time? At any point, did any of these people say, hey, Nutshell Animation, can I be paid for the work that I did for this one video after I do it rather than getting paid after at the end of making 2 videos? Did any of these people communicate any problem to him? These people are so familiar with the terms of their contract labor and yet seem to have such a problem without voicing any amount of concern to Nutshell Animation. I have no reason to believe right now that if they hadn't expressed some kind of concern for him, he wouldn't have paid them more, or he wouldn't have been like, okay, well, you know, if you don't like the terms of my contract labor, I won't work with you anymore. Like, these people are not being made to do anything. It's like, oh my God, I got paid for contract work after I did the work. That is how the fucking world works.
Well, I just didn't see it. But later on, I said, yo, I guess I didn't realize this yesterday when I first read it, but are you saying that he requires 2 animations before he pays you? He said, yep, both need to be completely finished. I said, does he pay you for both, like 100 total, or does he just pick one and pay you for that? He says 100 total, but you have to finish both in order to get paid at all. If you only finish one, you're not getting payment.
Okay, so let's just take this random guy's word as gospel based. Cool. Okay, let's just trust that. But on top of that, if you message Nutshell Animation and you're like, hey, I want to do some contract work for you. He says, okay, this is how much I'm going to pay you. I want you to do 2 shorts, 2 animated shorts. I'm going to pay you at the end for both of them. If you agree to that, you cannot be upset when that is the case. If the terms of the contract labor are you need to do 2 animations for him, that is what the terms of the contract labor are, and you don't do 2 animations, you can't expect to be paid. These people are like fucking children.
Which I said, so in an instance where he sends you 1 audio and you animate it that day, but it then takes him 3 weeks to send another audio, would he pay you for that first one in the meantime? Or would you have to wait the 3 weeks to finish the second? And he said, you'd have to wait. So if you didn't think they were getting underpaid before...
So if that's the case where he's paying them super late, that is the first thing that I think you can take any issue with. This is the first problem in this video that is, by the way, unproven. The Nutshell Animation even did that. If that is the case where he's not paying them for weeks and they're messaging him being like, hey, like maybe he forgot, maybe you could say, okay, he forgot, whatever. But if they're messaging him being like, hey man, I need to get paid for this work I did, I want to get paid, and he's not getting back to them, that is shitty. That is very shitty. But that is the first thing in this entire video, we're 34 minutes in, that I have had any legitimate problem with, if it even happened, and I don't know that it happened. Do these idiots run off of goodwill and vibes? Yes, they do. That is how artists work. There's a reason why contracts exist, so they can be entitled to the pay. What am I listening to? Absolute cancer.
I really hope you understand it now. For this guy, specifically in an instance like this, it would take him 16 hours of work and like 3 to 4 weeks of wait time just to get paid $100. I mean, like, what the f, dude? Anyways, he said there has been times where he owed my friends $400 with no response for weeks, which I obviously asked for proof, and he said, well, I don't talk to that specific person anymore, so I can't ask them for screenshots of their conversation with Nutshell. I asked, have any of y'all had a situation similar to that? Maybe not 400, but has there been times where he's ghosted you for less? In which Animator 2 responded with, he doesn't necessarily ghost me entirely, but I'd have to keep reminding him to either give me another audio or pay me in full. Since I shit the animations out quickly, he pays me $400 in full instead of $100 each time. And then he sent me this image. So he says done, he sends the last animation, and then he asks, can you send me the money in full? 3 days later, you can see the dates here, right? The first messages were Monday. The second ones were Thursday. He says, let me know when you're ready. And then Nutshell basically said that he was about to pay him. I then asked, so in that situation, how long did it take you to receive payment? Was it the same day he responded, or was it later? Not realizing that this was literally days prior. He said, it's definitely after. This screenshot is the last time he responded. I'm still waiting for my pay. Usually takes him a few days to a week and a half to respond showing screenshots of payment confirmation. Then I said, oh shit, so what's the dates of these messages? It says,
I mean, paying people super, super late can be annoying. Like I get that. I'm sympathetic to that. It's very annoying when you do work and you're not paid promptly. So I get that. This is the first legitimate complaint I've noticed from any of these people. But once again, like, did any of these people voice any concern about this to Nutshell, or did they just go to a commentary YouTuber to talk about it? Like, why is this the instant response? I just don't get it. Like, paying them super late, that is not a nice thing to do, for sure. I wouldn't work for Nutshell Animation personally if I was an animator. Assuming the payment plan is legit, these people are crazy to accept those terms instead of finding work elsewhere. YouTube's a big platform. Maybe these artists need to value themselves more. Yes, they do. I agreed to do something and got mad after the fact. What the fuck? Hey, Tom, I got paid today, so now you do too. Thanks for the donut, buddy.
It's Thursday. Is this like 3 days ago? He said correct. So keep in mind this was last Sunday. Today is currently also Sunday, so it's an entire week later.
I asked Animator 2 if he had finally been paid for this, and he said that Nutshell did pay him about 3 days after we first talked, so somewhere around Tuesday or Wednesday, so keep that in mind.
Anyways, I responded with, so you're telling me that you made 8 animations over the span of like a week, and then now you're waiting another week to be paid? And he said, basically, yeah. The most I've ever gotten without payment is like 1 to 3 weeks max. I thought the dude ghosted me until I had to remind him constantly. And then, of course, he
Yeah, I mean, Nutshell Animation in this interaction seems relatively unprofessional, and he should be paying people quicker. I agree.
sent screenshots.
Which I'm not going to show them as to not out the animator, but what I will show is the dates.
It starts with him sending over his 8th animation September 24th. And then it goes all the way until October 9th, in which he finally gets paid. And just keep in mind that that does not include the time he spent waiting for audios. It doesn't include the time he spent animating. It doesn't include the 7 other shorts that he made just to get paid. Like, again, this guy has to make 8 shorts to get paid, which, I mean, is obviously kind of his fault. I believe he set it up like that. But
One moment of clarity. He set it up like that. He set it up that he would be paid every 8 animations. Wow. Well, whose fault is that then?
either way, dude, he sent the 8th animation. So this could be weeks, this could be months of waiting for audios and animating. Could be months. He sent the 8th one, and it still takes this dude 15 days to pay him.
Yeah, I mean, taking 15 days to pay him is kind of a shitty thing to do. I agree. That's not good. But, like, so far, everything else in this video is so nothing. And once again, this is like an issue that could have been solved between these two people privately, instead of like making it some kind of giant public expose about nothing. Pretty pleased with the Tickle Me Tom voice.
My name's Nutshell. You want $50 for an animation?
Again, this is after the 8th one has been sent.
Like, you should have led this video with a payment issue.
15 days goes by, finally pays for the 8 animations. 8 animations, which, by the way, because this is Animator 2, average like 2.6 million views. So, I mean, again, he's making a lot more than $400. And he's waiting that long? So, I mean, yeah. Aside from him just blatantly underpaying, he also, sometimes, actually pretty regularly, just doesn't pay. Makes excuses, drags his feet. He won't pay you if you've made 1 animation, which is like f***ing bizarre. Again,
I mean, to be clear, if the workload that he's asking for is 2 animations, he says, I want 2 animations and then I will pay you after. Like, that's on you. That's on the animator. That's on the artist.
Again, these aren't your employees, bro. These are pretty much just commissions. So I
Yes.
don't really see your grounds for holding out payment there, but whatever.
I feel like the point about how they're just commissions probably should have been stretched across the entire video and could have made a lot of these points seem a lot different.
Either way, it's no secret that he underpays and sucks at actually sending the money over. So knowing all these things, you may be asking, why did these animators work for Nutshell in the first place, and why did they stay?
True.
Well, that's actually the next point I brought up. I asked basically how they were introduced, and Animator 1 sent me this. He said, "Hey Beto, here is what Nutshell texted me when hiring me. Hey Animator 1, I know this is a bit random, but I saw your animations, and geez, you're absolutely talented for being 15. I just
Are the animators all underage?
had to DM you. We've got this program on Nutshell Animations if you're interested. We pay out animators that would enjoy creating animated clips for us on a consistent basis with no time constraints. We'll give you an audio, and you animate it. Simple as
Interesting.
that. I thought you were a talented fit and
Why did we not lead with that?
didn't want to pass on DMing you. Check out our animations. No background art, no color, short clips, super easy going. Interested?" He says, "Oh, okay, all right. Few questions. Do I have like a time limit on making these animations? Like you send me the audio, then do I have like a week's time to finish? And 2, how are you guys gonna pay me?" He says, "You have all the time you need. You can do it in a matter of hours or days, no limit. The sooner, the more you'll keep getting." Then he said, "Just to show that Nutshell definitely knew I was 15. He saw an easy cash grab because in my situation there was no saying no. Bro saw a golden opportunity. Also, when he hired me, he told me that I can work on these videos at my own pace and there are no due dates, but he's still sending me paragraphs on how he's disappointed in me for not
Dude, why do we not lead with the fact that apparently some of the animators are underage? Why do we not lead with that? Why do we not? This video is way too long for the evidence presented. I'm sorry. It is way, way too long. I feel like that should have been way up front.
finishing the animation I wasn't even paid for. Then he sent these two images, which again, feel free to pause it and read them, but just to sum it up, basically he had sent Animator 1 in audio. He started working on it, but then somebody commissioned him for something else, something that they paid ahead of time for, meaning that they got priority. And while he was working on that,
Now that I get to this, now I like all the people in the comment section who are like, dude, I'll pay these underage animators way more.
he got a few more commissions, all of which paid ahead of time, all of which get priority, whatever. Basically
What country are they based in? Pretty sure it'd be illegal in Europe. Yeah, it depends on the country for sure. It depends on the place. Like, I assume the United States is less stringent around labor laws than Europe. I don't totally know. But I personally just avoid paying contract labor for anyone who's underage just to avoid any issue with this. But yeah, I you know, there can be like issues you can run into legally, I think.
what happened is that he didn't get the animation to Nutshell in like 3 months, which of course he thought was fine considering that when Nutshell hit him up, he said there was no time constraints. I mean, you saw it right there. He said there was none. But Nutshell then went on a full crash out, saying that he was disappointed and that the animations don't even take that long and it's not that much work. Which, I mean, come on, bro. You used to do the animations. You know that's a lie. Anyways, he ends it by saying, "It's just disappointing, brother. Words of advice, just because I'm probably double the age. Any employer will take reliability over talent."
I mean, this is true. He is right.
Which is true. He's not wrong. But also, every other employer doesn't pay $6 an hour for a skill that takes any kind of talent. Again, this is just another case of the corporate talk. Literally just a...
To be clear, with the adults in the situation, if you're an adult agreeing to this, I would not care. If you're 15 years old, there can be ethical concerns around paying children to make your content. You know, not necessarily, but there can be ethical concerns for sure. So this is like, we're getting more substantial here, I would say. Like, we went from disgruntled employees to like cheap child labor, basically. So for the minors involved, this guy should just not work with minors. For the adults involved, I don't feel bad for them whatsoever.
to be manipulative. This, like, oh, you can do better bullshit while also paying nickels for the work is just blatant manipulation. Especially when you take in the fact that A, he is not an employer, there is no contract, they are not employed, and B, the motherfucker has not been paid for the commission. He does not have to get that shit done because no transaction has been made. He could have been sitting on this shit for 6 years and I would still say he's in the right. He's not scamming you. He's not stealing your money. He's putting his time and resources into places that actually pay him what he's worth. God, this guy's just a dickhead. Anyways, going back just a bit to the part where he said, Nutshell definitely knew I was 15. When I read this, all the pieces aligned. The fact that they put up with his shit, the reason he pays so little, the comments I had gotten on my previous video, it just all started making sense. If you can recall from earlier when I was talking about my comments, I mentioned that a lot of people spoke quite fondly about Nutshell, saying that he has commented on their animations in the past, and he was, being positive, whatever it was. But they all have this certain pattern to them, and I'll just go ahead and show you what I mean. So this one says, Nutshell noticed one of my videos probably about 5 years ago, giving me a cool moment when I was a kid, giving me a real boost of confidence to pursue making videos. Now I look at their content, I'm sad to see the channel has become a brain rot content farm.
Okay, is there anything else in this video other than just reading comments? There's one DM in here somewhere. Okay, so like, to be clear, the one thing I guess you could criticize him for is for employing children, I guess, and paying people late. Everything else, I'm just like, I don't know. It's just like, it's like so kind of nothing. So nothing. Yeah, if he's like seeking out kids, I guess, who are like, inexperienced. I mean, like, just lead with that. Everything else is like, people agree to be paid $50. I don't fucking care. I literally do not care about that. Frozen and Jay, come shovel me out, Timothy. Can you give me $5? Oh, sorry, give you $5. $5? Yeah, I don't know why that wasn't an opening sentence. I don't know. I don't know why that wasn't the opening here. The worst part about this whole video is the fact he made you sit through and watch a Marvel Rivals match? Yes, I agree. I agree. Okay. Well, you know, interesting drama. Kind of. kind of interesting, I guess. Somewhat milquetoast, somewhat interesting. I'm out of Zen, so I'm about to start raging, by the way, so just be prepared for that. If you'd rather watch Black Ops 6 gameplay, I'd rather watch gay pornography. I think that's what commentators should start doing instead of gameplay. That's what I would prefer, personally.
Bitch, I'm calm dark, but my dick is quite light. And this girl that's on my dick, she is not quite white. She's black. You can twist it up and play with it. Whoa. Make a motherfucking movie, Michael Bay with it. Whoa. Gotta promise you not dealing with a baby dick. No. There's a big white cop in your radius.